Welcome everybody to the third monthly event for the Mentor Pair for this year. These monthly events are new this year and we hope you find them valuable. We would really appreciate any feedback that you have. My name is Ellen Sorensen. I am on the CSE Alumni Society Board. I'm part of the Student Engagement Committee, which is the committee that helps run the Mentor program. I'm also chair of the Alumni Engagement Committee. And my degree is in computer science. I have a bachelor's of science in computer science and a master's in computer engineering. We'd really like to thank everybody, students and mentors, for participating in the mentor program this year. We wish your pairs much success in these last couple months, and we really hope that you find this program useful. With that, I will pass it off to Joelle and our speakers. Enjoy the evening.
Thanks, Ellen, and welcome everybody. My name is Andrea Hansen and I am the Assistant Director of Events and Alumni Relations for the college. Before we get started, I just wanted to do some quick housekeeping notes. So first of all, this is a Zoom meeting, so you do have access to your video and microphone. However, we ask that you stay muted during the speaker presentation portion. There will be time for discussion following that presentation. We will be using breakout rooms for today's discussion. If you joined today from a Zoom room, you will not be able to join a breakout room. So just please unjoin and then join back in using the link in the confirmation email you received. If you have any questions, you can use the chat box and we can help you. If you called in today, we just ask that you go in the chat, let us know your name so that we can get you in the right room. We do have the live auto transcript on. If you don't want to see it, you can use the hide live transcript button at the bottom of your screen. All right, I want to quickly run through the agenda for today's event. We'll start off with our featured guests, Ray, Peter, and Allie, sharing their advice and experiences around successfully maintaining and expanding networks. Then we'll move into breakout rooms for some small group discussion. And just to note, we are switching things up this time. So you will not be in a breakout room with your partner if they are attending today. We're gonna mix you all up. We have about 25 minutes for discussion, then we'll come back together, share as a larger group, and then finally we'll just share some upcoming events. We should be done by 6 p.m. All right, I'd like to now introduce our featured speakers. So Peter Ketchum is a manager of production support at Thomson Reuters and has been there for 15 years. He graduated from the University of Minnesota in 2005 with a degree in computer engineering, and again in 2012 with an MBA from the Carlson School. This is his second year as a mentor. Ray Loffer is a senior majoring in computer science who does research at the intersection of wearable technology and mental illness. And Allie Holden, our third speaker, graduated from the U in May of 2020 with a degree in biomedical engineering. She held internships during undergrad, not underground, at Abbott and Medtronic, and has been a supplier quality engineer at Medtronic in Danvers, Massachusetts for 6 months now, and this is her first time mentoring. So thank you all for being here today and sharing your experiences and advice. So I'm going to stop the share, and then to get us started, I'm going to ask our guests their thoughts on how do you know who to connect to? How do you choose that? How do you identify those people? And how do you know when it's appropriate to connect with people? So why doesn't Ray get us started with that one?
Sure thing. So I'm the resident student of this group, and my networking is mostly right now contained to students. I think that in general, it's mostly people that I know from, group projects that I find at a conference or that I meet just, in my lab or something like that. I am a researcher on campus, and I see a lot of grad students graduate on to jobs. And I think that's a really good connection that I can sometimes get into, somewhere like Google, where I have 2 people from my lab that I know that just went on to work there. I think a lot of times students don't take advantage fully of the people that are at their current level. I go to a conference with some of my comp sci friends and they go try to network with the, department head or someone like that, or with this, company that's there visiting as well, when I feel like the most useful connections I've gotten out of those things are my fellow peers and just the people that I can talk with, people like, a year ago, Allie, you were at the U, and someone like you, I could have talked with and heard about your internships, maybe gotten a foot in the door somewhere, talking with, I got a couple interviews with medical companies just from talking with people, students, and just underappreciated network connections.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that, your peers, as you get older and progress through your career, they become some of your most useful connections. So the person that you used to sit next to in class and study with is now, a leader in, a company that you want to work with. So those are some really great connections. And Ray, you also mentioned conferences as well. I think conferences are a really great place to meet people. Um, but outside of that, you don't always have to be thinking about going to network, but like when you actually do network, there are all these kinds of ways that people are like, oh, I'm going to go and network at the career fair. I'm going to go and network at this conference. But you kind of want those connections to happen organically. I've met some people, through conferences. I've met people at bars, at the airport, just like talking to people about what they do. You can find a lot of like good organic connections that way, which I think is great. Um, and one more that I really like to think about is like speakers in class or, lecturers that you see when you see people like that. Those are some easy connections that you could get, after listening to them speak and say, oh, that was really interesting what you said. I'd like to talk to you more about that. Those are some connections that can really help you along the way as well.
yeah, I feel like the bars one especially, when you just meet in this comfortable environment where nobody's
Mhm.
forcing anything and you just talk about something completely unrelated and then you get to talking about work. I really agree.
Mhm.
That's one of the best things, especially like after conferences, you just go out for drinks with somebody there.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely a great organic way to meet people. Very comfortable environment.
Uh, I would echo that as well. Some of the contacts I've had over the years are folks I worked with in college, folks I had in classes in college. Um, I had a long conversation with like the CTO at a tech company because we were sitting in the hall at a conference about monitoring. Just like, oh, what do you do? And having that sort of conversation and the problems we're each trying to solve. It just it comes up organically and just sort of kind of have to you don't even recognize when it happens. Sometimes it's walking away and going, oh yeah, that was networking.
Yeah, like just 4 days ago or something, I walked away from our tech rehearsal for this meeting and I said, you know what? I should really add the people in this meeting on LinkedIn because I'm doing something with them and I want to work at Medtronic. I just applied there the other week and Allie works at Medtronic. So I reached out and I was like, hey, can we connect? Can I talk to you next week about this? And
Yeah, definitely. Events like this are great places to meet people, and I definitely welcome it. I'm sure you guys do as well. Just you see people, you're like, oh wait, we had this thing together. Let's talk more.
yeah,
So yeah, that's great.
and I personally use LinkedIn for that because it was very easy to find you. But what
Mhm.
other tools do you two use in these sort of situations? Because I've just used LinkedIn so far.
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is one of my favorite cool tools because it's so easy to find people. Like if you meet someone and his name is Tom and with a last name something that starts with a B, you don't really know, he works at Medtronic, you can kind of search through LinkedIn and see if something sparks your eye and it's like, oh, right, it was that guy, and continue your conversation after you have met. But it's also great because you don't have to have a connection with someone before connecting on LinkedIn. So especially when you're young, freshman, sophomore, even junior in college, you don't have a lot of those connections at an industry level. So what I kind of started doing when I first got my LinkedIn is, searching for the companies that I really care about, like Medtronic, and search for people who had recently graduated from the U of M. and you could connect with them, send a little note, say, "Hi, I'm Allie Holden. I want to learn more about what you do at Medtronic." And boom, there's a connection instantly, which is really great, especially now during these virtual times that you don't really have that ability to go out and meet people as organically. So I love LinkedIn for that. Another great thing that I like to do is obviously email is good, especially if you have an instant connection, if you want to follow up, right after you have a conversation. That's a great, you want to exchange emails. But also one thing that I kind of use as a secret power is business cards, which people are like, business cards, those are just for salespeople, but they're really not. But I would recommend, if you're going to a conference, post-COVID times, to carry some business cards that just have, a generic email, your phone number, your degree, and maybe, graduation date on there. And maybe like I have a QR code for my LinkedIn on there. So when I connect with people, I'll say, "Here, connect with me on LinkedIn." The QR code's on the back, and people can easily connect with me just like that. So that's like a little secret weapon I like to use.
Yeah, that's a fun little one. I like that. I'm gonna have to start doing that because I'd never think of that sort of thing. How about you, Pete?
Um, I do it a little different, but I want to touch on the business cards one quick too, because that reminded me of something. If you're like in the electrical engineering field, that can be a really big one to do some really interesting things. If you look up like DEF CON badges, there's a whole subculture of folks that make like, this is how I advertise myself. It'll be like a PCB business card with like a little circuit on it that does something. Depending on your industry, like your focus, business cards can be a huge thing. All my stuff is IT and operations, so it's not so much for me. For me, networking, my big tool is connecting other people. So many times I'm trying to solve something specific. I know someone who's trying to solve something specific. It can be building that network of, hey, you should talk to this person, and just develop those connections that way of getting folks in touch with other people. And that's kind of how I've approached it.
And I think it's cool too to recognize that people like you and Allie exist, because there's plenty of people out there willing to connect us, me, the students, with anybody and everybody that they know generally. And I would be happy to help any, high schooler or sophomore in college or something find their first internship. That'd be something I'd absolutely jump at the chance to do. I think a lot of people are just stuck in their brain about like, oh, I can only ask these certain people these certain questions, and it's rude to just cold call somebody who went to the U. But it's not always rude, especially if you meet them in person. You can totally follow that up.
Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of add on to that, another, like Pete was saying, a great tool is the connections that you already have. A lot of the people that I know that are still, at college at the U will say, "Oh, like I want to learn more about this area of engineering." You can ask people who are in engineering, "Do you know anyone in, R&D? Do you know anyone in quality that I can talk to and learn more?" So the connections that you have, end up kind of being that tool to lead you to more, which is great.
Yeah, and that, I don't know, I guess I'm curious then. So you say you can do that sort of thing through connections. Like, how else do you use your connections? Like, I got this LinkedIn network, I have 100 people that I'm connected to, and some of them I know pretty well, some of them as a family friend. But how do you start using them to further yourself and also foster that connection?
Yeah. So when I first started networking, I just kind of connect. And after a while, I was like, "Oh man, I have, so many people on here. I don't even really know half of them. I don't know what they do." So you really want to make sure that, yeah, I kind of stopped and was like, "Okay, I need to back up here. Like, what connections do I actually need so that when I go to utilize them, I have a purpose? I can easily find the people that I can utilize and talk to about things." And, some of the things that I like to talk to people about are informational interviews, which I know was talked about a few months ago on one of these CSE events, and those are so great. I didn't start doing those until my second internship at Medtronic, and my manager suggested that I do them with people that I have, interest in moving into different areas of the company. And it broadened, like I learned so much about different locations, different job titles, different business units, all sorts of different things. And that was just within Medtronic. And then what you can do is you can say, okay, now I'm applying for an internship. What you can also do is say, okay, hey, Allie, you work at Medtronic. Do you know anything about this, co-op program? Do you know anyone who's done it? Do you know if, someone in your department is hiring a co-op? You can use your connections to get you a job in a way that's not like, hey, can you give me a job? You can just kind of ask them and say, do you have any advice? And that can kind of lead to them saying, hey, I actually know the manager, let me get you an interview, and that's a really great way to leverage your network in a way that's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And with
organic
that,
point is super important,
yeah,
right? Like a
right.
conversation that leads to something unexpectedly.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to kind of just be like, hey, but you definitely want to reach out to those people. I wish more people would reach out to me when they're applying and say, hey, I'm applying for this job. Because I know a lot of people due to my network, and I might be able to say, hey, this person's interested. Can they have an informational interview with you about this job that you're actually interviewing for? Which is just a great way to continue, connecting people.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's
yeah.
awesome. And
Mhm.
Pete, you talked a bit about, connecting other people. What do you do for yourself with your network?
Well, some of that just kind of comes back and returns in kind. I'll have a former coworker that's also somewhat of a friend, like that makes like, hey, I know you've been hiring a lot lately. That's not the job I'm going for, but you've seen a lot of resumes. Can you take a look at my resume? And then that could lead to the conversation of, oh, and did you know this other company is hiring? You should take this and go there with that. I've leveraged it in that way. A more recent one that actually was a little more out of left field. I had a water pipe burst the other week when it was super cold, and trying to get a hold of the contractor to get it fixed. I called, I left messages. I have no idea how to get a hold of them. Just neighbor across the street. Oh yeah, we work with them all the time. I do, that he does contracting. Like, let me give him a call. And then an hour later, I had them on the phone, and that probably shaved 3 days off of what it would have taken to get our water turned back on. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not always just your career. It can be just things out of left field.
And I
Yeah.
think flipping that too is important, to recognize that you could job network the same way that you personally network. The way that you make friends, or even when you were in kindergarten, the way you made friends is surprisingly analogous to finding jobs.
Mhm. Yeah. And I was just going to add to that. A lot of people think like you want to connect with people specifically in an area that you want to go in. And that's not how networking is. I have connected with a lot of people that are directly in, business majors, which doesn't affect me as an engineer, but when I'm looking for a job and when I'm looking, to maybe go to a different company and this person works there, they can tell me about it. And there's so many ways that people can change your life. Doesn't matter if your professions mingle or not. There's always, ways that you can help each other out.
Absolutely. And like the future is very uncertain for a lot of students. So you never know if one day you fall in love with management and you want those business connections. It's going to be
Right,
great to have made
exactly.
them when you have all the free time in the world to do so. Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
thank you too a ton. I appreciate that. I think I'm going to go network a little bit more. I've already networked with everybody in this meeting. So, I'll find some new people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Thanks, guys. I think that's some really good advice about thinking about your network and how your network is. And definitely everyone currently in this meeting, you know, that's a potential contact for you. So I'm going to quick share our screen and we'll get into kind of what the breakout room discussion is going to be. So the idea here, hold on a second, is that, find it, there we go, that we're going to get in these small groups and really get a chance to talk through some of this, and for students to really get a chance to just ask their questions. You know, I know a lot of you have very specific questions or more general questions around networking, around expanding your network, when you should contact somebody, how you should do it, all of that. This is your chance to ask those questions and get advice from some mentors. I do also want to remind our mentors on the call today that you know, I'm assuming that because you're a mentor, you're willing to help students. So I'm going to encourage you to, in the breakout room, share, if you're on LinkedIn, what your LinkedIn profile is, share your email address if you're willing for students to contact you. And I'm also going to probably plug the CSE Mentor Program LinkedIn group, which is a great place to find people because you can see everyone who's in that group and they've all self-selected in. So to get us started in the rooms, what we're going to do is everyone's going to just introduce themselves. We're going to ask mentors to share kind of a positive experience you've had with networking, and students to ask a question. If you don't have a question, you can share advice that you have, or you know, an experience you've had too. And then once we get through kind of that first round of questions and everyone's shared, we'll open the floor and let you all just talk about all of this. We're going to have about 25 minutes, so it should be a good chunk of time. Joelle, is there anything else we need before we break out?
No, I think we're ready.
Great. Okay. Each room will have a volunteer host. So we have a few board members on the call today who will help kind of guide the discussion and jot down some notes to share afterwards when we come back together. Like I said, we'll do a little bit of large group sharing. And then you'll get a 5-minute heads up and then a 1-minute warning before we bring everyone back together. You had some good conversations. We're going to just do a little bit of sharing kind of with what people talked about, anything that came out of the rooms that was interesting or feel like everyone might benefit from knowing. So I'll get us started. So our room had a lot of great conversation. Our kind of concerns or questions that we had were kind of how to make yourself sometimes not doing the obvious things, like looking at the alumni tool on LinkedIn or looking up company pages on LinkedIn, those things that you hear a lot but maybe haven't ever done, and how to kind of get yourself doing those. We talked about, you know, making the time, scheduling the time, trying other, if that's not really interesting you, trying other avenues. And then we talked about virtual networking. So during the pandemic, what has changed or what hasn't. And Kent had some good thoughts about, you know, if you Google search job searching during the pandemic or networking during the pandemic, there's going to be lots of advice out there for you. But a lot of it is building off of existing tools, reaching out to people you haven't talked to in a while, using those virtual platforms that already exist. We were asked things not to do. So like, what's the number one thing you shouldn't do? And that is what we heard from that was trying to sell yourself or being too salesy in your pitch, making it about you, making it about getting, you know, giving me a job, giving me something. And really you need to go in with curiosity and be wanting to learn and showing interest in the other person to build that connection. And then I really liked one of the things Kent said that he thought was kind of the most important thing was be bold, get out of your comfort zone. You can't, you know, you're not going to make any connections with anyone if you don't try, if you don't take that first step. And so I thought that was really great. That's what we talked about. Steve, what did your room talk about?
Well, so we had some great questions that came up. One of them is if you're interested in moving to a different city, how do you plug into a, you know, in effect, it's not a foreign country, but it kind of feels like it at first, I guess. How do you plug into that? So we had a number of suggestions for that. So another question was, when you approach a company, are you interested in the older people or the younger people? And the answer that came up is probably both for two very different reasons. And let's see, there's probably a couple other questions that came up too, but yeah, we filled our time for some nice discussions on this topic.
Great. All right, Denny, do you want to share from your room?
Sure, we had similar results, very good conversation. I think some of the student questions were along the lines of, you know, what's the frequency of connecting with certain people? When's too much, when's too little? So we talked about having different levels of communication based on the relationship, and that could change over time. The mentors shared a lot of really good advice, you know, treating everything as a relationship instead of a transaction. Mentors shared that some really unexpected results, you know, where some of these relationships were very casual and they turned into big job changes and big opportunities. So it was unexpected, but really nice. And maybe the last nugget is that people are willing to help and you don't have to really fear reaching out. So volunteer, find ways to meet, and the rejection level is pretty low. So that's our group. It was a really good discussion.
Great, thanks, Denny. Mary, you want to share from your group?
Yes, thank you, Andrea. We had a great discussion as well, and I think some very nice nuggets of good information coming out of that. One of them that we talked a little bit about was if you're wanting to maintain your connection, to potentially to take notes or send notes through LinkedIn, not just text messages, but LinkedIn is really a nice way to stay connected and to continue to keep a very fast way of continuing to keep that warm connection. Another thing is, as you are networking, to be helpful in that networking, in that relationship. It's not all one direction. It really needs to be, networking needs to be a two-way path, not just one way. And another thing that we talked about was, if you're in a larger company where there's a number of divisions, departments, etc., there is no such thing really as a cold networking contact with somebody within your own company. You can certainly, you have a connection with anybody, starting out with anybody who's in the company. And then another idea was, if as you are networking or you find within your company an interesting project that's happening that you would really like to be involved in, volunteer to be a part of that project, which I thought was a really nice suggestion. Great conversation. Thanks, everybody.
That's great. All right, is there anything anyone else wants to share with the larger group? Anything came up in your room that we didn't mention or that you thought was a really great piece of advice?
This is Kent.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I have one other thing that
Sure.
when I mentioned, I didn't mention the small group, is a lot of companies have referral bonuses. And so as you're inquiring with people about openings and opportunities, find out if they have a referral program, and it might be an opportunity for that individual to get rewarded financially for helping you get a job at their company.
Yeah, that's a great tip. All right, anyone else? Any tips to share? All right, well, hopefully you had a good conversation. I am going to say
I think
again,
Ray was unmuting himself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ray.
Sure. Yeah, I was. Good eyes, Joel. I would just want to say that the best connections that have come for me have come out of just saying yes to random things. You know, if somebody offers to take you out for a drink and talk about what you were just chatting about at a conference, just say yes. You know, it's an afternoon of your life that you'll never get back. But I met a whole host of, you know, the Human Factors and Ergonomics graduate chapter at the U out of just going to happy hour with them one day. And just all of the things that have unexpectedly come up, you have to say yes for those unexpected connections to happen.
That's great. Thanks, Ray. All right, anyone else before I move us on? All right. Then I'm going to suggest, as I keep talking, mentors, if you are willing to, and you want to put in the chat maybe who you are, your degree, or where you work, and your LinkedIn profile or your email if students can connect with you. Now is a great time to do that. Students, you can look in there and copy and paste some stuff out as I talk about some upcoming events that we're gonna. So let me share my screen again here. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is this event that is tomorrow night. First of all, sorry, I want to let you know, we did record this. We will share the recording of Ray and Pete and Allie's portion talking and all of that. So if your mentor or student wasn't able to attend and you want to recommend that they watch it and then talk about it at your next meeting, you will be able to do that. We'll send that out. All right, but tomorrow night is the Maroon and Gold Connections event that is hosted by the University of Minnesota Alumni Association. It's an interactive virtual career networking event for students, alumni, and friends of all of the colleges. So it's U-wide, any industry, any career level. And it will be a great way to build upon some of the stuff you learned today. And there will be a keynote from Walter Bond, and it should be a great time. We will send out the link, which is here too, but I will also just send it to everybody this evening. So if you want to register for that tomorrow, you can. And it's kind of a drop in, so you don't have to go for the whole time. It's a couple of hours. You can drop in at any point and go to various rooms to network with people. All right, the next thing I want to share is our upcoming events. So our next and final monthly pairs event will be on March 18th at 6 p.m. this time. And if we talked a lot about LinkedIn tonight and you're not sure how to use LinkedIn, you should come to this one because it's going to be all about how to use LinkedIn, how we'll have a CSE Career Center counselor with us sharing best practices for creating your profile and how to use it. We'll have advice from some mentors and really get into the nitty gritty of how you can use LinkedIn to help job search and connect with people and all the things you can do on LinkedIn. And then finally, we want you to save the date for the Mentor Appreciation event. This is a chance to celebrate the year and celebrate your mentors. This is a U-wide event again on March 31st, and details will be coming in the follow-up email with more about the agenda and all of that, and the registration link. As always, if you have any questions, need help with anything, please feel free to reach out to myself and Joelle. And it looks like we got some stuff in the chat. So I think maybe we'll leave this open a couple more minutes in case you weren't able to get everything out of that, but we are done. Thank you all so much for attending. Thank you, Ray, Allie, and Pete for a great conversation. We really appreciate you guys doing this. And that was wonderful. So everyone have a good night.